there is one more question on my mind in terms of what key behavior separate a great developer from a great engineer.
Oh, okay. This is a very controversial question. Uh, the term developer and engineer very often gets used interchangeably.
Many people, right, if they start getting into this, getting their hands dirty and start programming, and they know, let's assume they know how to code, but struggle to work in teams, right? So, how
Mhm.
do you simulate these real work environments at real dev squad?
Right. So what happens in real dev squad is it operates like a company. We have our own product.
Mhm.
I right now.
Moving forward, you have mentored hundreds of developers, right? So, what is the number one mistake most new programmers make? And if they were to avoid, right, how can they avoid it?
Um, I think being afraid and not starting to write code is a mistake I see people doing all the time.
Right.
They watch tutorial video like a Netflix series. They watch one tutorial series, then instead of actually building something, actually getting their hands dirty.
And let's now talk about the crux in terms of the real dev squad that I think the
Mhm.
short form is RDS, right? So, how
Yes.
did this come into existence? And I'm curious to understand what gap in the develop learning ecosystem were you trying or were you aiming to solve?
We advise you to take the risks and take ownership, right? Don't be worried um, on attaching your name to things. The work is going to get your brand stamp, right? Like this is a problem being solved by ABC, right? Like whatever your name is. So
Mhm.
if you have high ownership, like treat that problem as your own. Don't wait for somebody else to fix it, right? Move it along, get it deployed. Don't hope that somebody else will take care of it.
So, folks, you have tuned into TGV and hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series, the world's only quadrilingual podcast at this moment of recording. And we are trying to embark into multiple languages as we speak. And here we embark on transformative conversations for a better future. And we want to simplify and amplify your journey to success. I'm your host, Navin Samala, dedicated to making the world a better place by bringing you wisdom through valuable discussions with experts designed to simplify and amplify your success. And thank you so much for tuning in. So, folks, we are joined by Ankush Dharkar today. And first of all, I would like to thank Narayani Gurunathan for connecting me with Ankush. And Ankush is the founder of Real Dev Squad, a community driven initiative helping thousands of developers gain real world experience by building real world products. He's a former lead software engineer and a very passionate mentor. Ankush is on a mission to make coding collaborative, practical, and most importantly, purpose driven. So, Ankush, here comes the basic question. Why should somebody tune into our conversation today and spend their valuable time?
Right. Hi, Naveen. Thank you for having me. I love to be here. My name is Ankush, as Naveen mentioned. Why somebody should maybe listen to me is because I have done more than a decade of mentoring people. I've helped lots of developers get their job, upskill, do really well at their careers. I've myself worked at big tech. I worked at Amazon. I worked at Bloomberg. I worked at Hotstar. And I've also worked at my own startup. And I've also worked at a services company. So I've covered the whole spectrum of types of jobs that are there. And I run Real Dev Squad. It's been running for more than 5 years. We've helped a lot of people get jobs through it. And I am also very active on Twitter Spaces doing career guidance and upskilling. So I know a lot about what is happening in the industry. And I talk to senior leaders all the time as to what are their up to date needs and what kind of candidates are they looking for. So I know both sides of the table really well. I've myself been a hiring manager as well. So I understand how the interviewing process works.
Excellent. So, folks, you are going to directly hear from the horse's mouth. Code, contribute, conquer. Building developers for real life. So, this is the topic today. And before we get into the topic, here is an exciting twist as always. So, Ankush, we're going to kick off the first rapid fire round of random words, and I'll mention a few. Would love to hear the first thing that comes to your mind in response without thinking much. And if you're ready,
Okay. Ready?
let's keep the ball rolling. Okay.
Hello, I'm Steve Ahern, one of the judges of the Asia Podcast Awards. I'm interrupting this episode to let you know that you're listening to an award-winning podcast. This podcast won its category in the 2024 Podcast Awards, so you know you're listening to quality. Enjoy your listening experience, and congratulations to the team who created this award-winning podcast for you.
My first word is curiosity.
Curiosity, possibilities, things that you can do which you may not have thought of yet.
Invention.
Creation, you create something that doesn't exist to solve your problem.
Future.
Future, happiness, right? You create a life of happiness which you enjoy.
Universe.
Endless possibilities, right? You keep exploring and there's no end to it.
Leadership.
Leadership, coaching, you create people who can then lead more people and then the pyramid continues.
Code.
Creating, I think, as I already said, creating, let's go with making people live a happy, quality, productive life.
Awesome. And then developer.
So a problem solver, somebody who uses code to solve a problem.
Career.
Career, purpose, what you want to dedicate a large portion of your life to.
Awesome. And then role model.
Role model, inspiration.
Okay, comes the last one. Life.
Life, quality,
Super.
happiness. I keep going
Excellent.
back to those two.
No, amazing. I love the first rapid fire round, full of optimism, full of exploration. Most importantly, tons of passion. So thank you so much for participating in the first rapid fire round, and I really appreciate it. There is one more rapid fire round toward the end of the episode, so stay tuned. And first of all, hearty welcome, formally hearty welcome to the Guiding Voice podcast series. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for being part of our journey in shaping the careers and lives of millions across the globe. So Ankush, how are you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you, Naveen?
I am doing fabulous, and it is always a pleasure to talk to mentors, amazing people like you who are on a similar mission like me in terms of coaching others and helping them utilize their full potential and maximize their talent. So, really exciting and looking forward to our conversation. And we'll begin with my first question. So, talk to us about your guiding voice.
My guiding voice, like what do you want to know?
Who is your guiding voice?
My guiding voice are a bunch of people,
Mhm.
people who are experts in their respective industries or people who have dedicated their life to a certain kind of a mission, who've gone through the hardships, maybe sometimes on their own or through a group of friends. The biggest guiding voice, I think, would be my own dad, who
Mhm.
is the symbol of integrity for me, who is always very careful and gets the work done in a correct manner. Um, but then at the end of the day, all these different people who I interact with, my compass that drives me is, if I was on the other side and on the receiving end of what I was doing, how would I feel about it? And what could I do best to make that experience better? And that becomes my guiding voice.
Okay. Now, talk to us about your success mantra, as in top three things that have contributed to your success so far.
All right. Top three things. There are a lot of things that has helped, but I think if I had to pick just three, the first one would be my parents.
Mm-hmm.
They give me a life full of facilities, even like sometimes stretching or overstretching themselves. They gave me very good values. They gave me a good environment. They gave me good education. And they kept good care of themselves where I was never like, they were not dependent on me. And I could take a lot of risks in life and try out different things to be where I am.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing would be my innate desire to solve problems without worrying about what was my formal role. So if I see a problem, if I don't see it being done right, how would I do it better? Sometimes through code or sometimes like, pulling back your sleeves and jumping in and trying to be helpful. And a third, a very not recent, but in the recent years, would be a group of people who have taken away some of my responsibilities in my own missions, who keep pushing me to go and achieve more while they hold down the fort and get other things done. So they have become a very good foundation for me to like take larger bets and risk in life. And touch wood, it's going well.
Wonderful. Let's take a step back and talk about how you define personally, how you define success, and has that changed? Has the definition changed since your early coding days to where you are today?
So, success to me would be more about having freedom to do different things without worrying about basic needs like paying the bills or where your food comes from, or like, what will happen to people around you if you take that risk. So, being in a place where you can really explore things you want to do without worrying about the impact too much. The freedom to do so, right? Where you are happy making the decisions you are making, even if they fail,
Mhm,
compared to having to do things because you are stuck in a situation where you are desperate or where it's hard to come out of the problems from.
mhm.
Now, from old times, like when I was in college and I was getting into my career, I think the definition of success was generally very narrow towards just getting financial success, right? Having enough money to uh, make your parents happy and being able to pay your bills and doing a little bit of your hobbies, which needed like traveling and buying the things that you wanted. With time, that has changed. With time, I have found a larger purpose, and I have found a different meaning of the success. It's similar, but it has expanded.
Awesome. So this success definition changes from time to time, and what we think today might not be the same after 5 years or 10 years. I could see that. Yeah. And let's now talk about the crux in terms of the real dev squad that I think the
Mhm.
short form is RDS, right? So how
Yes.
did this come into existence? And I'm curious to understand what gap in the develop learning ecosystem were you trying or were you aiming to solve?
Oh, okay. So the fuzzy idea of this group started back in 2008 when I was in
Mhm.
my own college.
Mm,
I was interested in my field, but I had no direction. I didn't have any people working in IT in my family. I didn't have any uh, enough mentors or seniors who I could like really ask guidance from. So I could
mhm.
do things. I could code. I was really interested in coding more than just the syllabus, but I was a little clueless on how the industry works. And my college was not one of those top tiered colleges. It was some small college in um, a very remote part of the country. So we didn't have like a lot of exposure and opportunities around us. Now, in that kind of an environment, most of my peers had a scarcity mindset.
Right.
So they were not very helpful to a larger group. If they
Mhm.
found out about an internship, they found out about something that could give them a leg up, they kept it to themselves. They didn't share. I hated that feeling. So I said, okay, you know what? I'll teach. Knowledge should be free. Knowledge should be available.
Right.
Um, there are thousands of jobs in the world. I may not get the first best job. I may not get the second. I may not get the 10th. I may not get the 50th. I'll pick up job number 51. I'll pick up job number 100. I'll pick up job number 200 and I'll still be happy. It's still going to be a job and we'll do it and we'll get money, right? Like, why can't we not all go get those jobs? So I decided that I will create a group. I'll help people.
Mhm.
And when I came into the industry, I saw that people were reluctant to pick up tougher skills. They wanted to be in their comfort zone and not really like push their boundaries. So I said, okay, let's create a group where we really like pick up more technical skills, make better products. And on that journey, somewhere I realized like soft skills also were needed a lot.
Right.
And things like how to collaborate, how to communicate, how to do PR reviews. And then very soon I just realized I need a group which simulates how a company works. Because if early on you realize all the nitty-gritties of a company and you can like really be a good professional in this simulated environment, when you go to a company, you are ready to hit the ground running from day one. And that's how I created Real Dev Squad.
Excellent. I think that has a noble intention. And in fact, I've also come across people operating with that scarcity mindset, and they think that if I share something with somebody, they might grab the opportunity before me, but world is full of abundance, right? Excellent. I loved your thought process there. And in fact, I shared similar attitude when I was a young developer at that time. In fact, I used to run a lot of coding sessions internally within the organization that I worked for. But over a period of time, I have to make a drastic shift in my career. I'm no longer a pure techie guy, but moved on to the business transformation space and all. All right. So moving forward, you have mentored hundreds of developers, right? So, what is the number one mistake most new programmers make? And if I were to, if they were to avoid, right, how can they avoid it?
Um, I think being afraid and not starting to write code is a mistake I see people doing all the time.
Right.
They watch tutorial video like a Netflix series. They watch one tutorial series, then instead of actually building something, actually getting their hands dirty, they start watching a similar tutorial series from scratch, and then they're like, oh, but what if I forget that one thing which I may not use? And they just stay on a loop of tutorials and tutorials and tutorials, and they never code something which doesn't have a tutorial, and that doesn't get them the practice early. So yeah, I think with watching with theory, the people should also spend enough time doing the practical side of things.
Yeah. Excellent. One thing what I used to tell or advise the juniors is to try different things. Like if something is written in one sequence, why not the other sequence? Or why don't you enhance what is being taught by that particular senior developer or something? That also
Mhm.
goes along, right? And
Right.
then, yeah. So a while ago, you mentioned about collaboration, teamwork, and soft skills, right? So many people, right, if they start getting into this, getting their hands dirty and start programming, and they know, let's assume they know how to code, but struggle to work in teams, right? So how
Mhm.
do you simulate these real work environments at real dev squad?
Right. So what happens in real dev squad is it operates like a company. We have our own product.
Mm-hmm.
I right now work as a product manager, but in future, if you have people who want to learn or want to get better as product managers, they can assume that role. So I know what we want to build. We are building like productivity apps. Some are internal tools for our own group, and some are public apps. Now, as you know, these digital products, they need features, right? They
Yeah.
need to be maintained. They need to be like there's some refactoring work that is needed from time to time. They needs to be deployed. So it's a product that we manage ourselves, and then we build features on it. And these features are given to the developers who come into the group as a task, as a ticket,
Mm-hmm.
right? Some people know how to do it. They're given a slightly tougher feature than what they can manage, so that they keep learning. Now, when you build a feature, you have to do some kind of prototyping. You have to do some kind of technical docs, design docs. You have to collaborate with others and see what are the APIs being worked upon. You have to write the code, get the code reviewed. In code reviews, there are issues that are caught. Those have to be solved. Then you have to get it deployed. You have to get it deployed to staging, get it checked. You have to QA it. You have to send it to prod, switch on the feature flag. So all those lifecycle steps people have to enact here. And that has all different touch points on the various collaboration that goes into a typical tech industry.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. So you're trying to simulate the real life corporate work environment, and also that they get hands on. Amazing. And how do you help these self-taught developers stand out in today's hyper competitive job market without a degree or a big name internship?
That's a very good question. Um, Counterintuitively, what I've realized with time is there are a lot of good startups, small scale companies, and even for big companies, everybody wants good, talented developers who can get the work done, and sometimes who are also not super pricey, super expensive,
Yeah.
right? With these self-taught developers, in fact, with a lot of developers, one thing that is a little lacking sometimes is their online presence, their visibility. If people don't know your caliber, if the market doesn't know that you exist, it's difficult to find you and get you the jobs. So if you are, and by the way, I'm not saying don't code, don't work on your or skill set, just like, go and do build in public. No, I'm saying work on your skills, do your things, but sprinkle a little bit about yourself out in the world. It can
Mm-hmm.
be by becoming a conference speaker. It can be by being active on Twitter, by writing blogs, by newsletter, whatever that helps people know the kind of skills and the kind of work that you do. And when you do this consistently without hoping anything in return, and when you try different things here and there, you basically go where people are, right? You don't work in isolation, don't work in a silo, be out and about. And that helps create a brand for you. And when the brand is created, eventually people come looking for you. Or when you apply, people know the kind of tangible outputs you have produced, and they're able to get you some kind
Yeah.
of an opportunity.
No, absolutely. That's a great advice. In fact, these days, the moment somebody gets a profile, first thing they are doing is looking at their LinkedIn profile and then GitHub profile, right? So, especially this branding is going to help, and most importantly, contributing to the community in terms of sharing your knowledge,
Yeah.
which is very, very important, which is very, very crucial.
Sometimes
Yeah.
sometimes it's more than that, right? If you are
Mhm.
hiring,
Yeah.
you had a small team, it was going well, you raised some money, and you're like, oh, now we need 10 more developers. Like, I have so much work and I also need to do hiring. And
Yeah.
one of your trusted engineers says, I mean, I have these 3 friends I work with in this Discord group, and we build like apps on the side, and they're very good, right? Like, they'll be
Right.
a perfect fit for us. There's a very high likelihood you'll say, okay, let's at least interview them, right? Like, I trust
Absolutely.
you and you are vouching for them, and we
Yeah.
don't have so much time, and they come de-risk. Like, why would I not want to interview them?
Yeah. I want like-minded people, right? Even companies, large corporations also encourage the same thing. Bring another you. That is what typically they do as part of the hiring campaigns and all. Amazing. And now there is one more question on my mind in terms of what key behavior separate a great developer from a great engineer.
Oh, okay. This is a very controversial question. Uh, the term developer and engineer very often gets used interchangeably, but just for the sake of this particular question, I would say a developer is somebody who solves the limited problem set that is given to them. Like, hey, build this feature, they just build that feature. I would say engineer is somebody who goes a little bit beyond. They figure out alternatives. They figure out maybe even sometimes things that we should not build. Right? They don't just like stay limited to code.
Hmm.
They take ownership of the problem to be solved. They find alternates. They find different ways of doing it. Maybe they think from like a lot of creative angles. They um, something as simple as doing mentorship, right? They may say, oh, I can do this, but you have this new person on the team. They need to get trained in this. This will be a good opportunity for them to like learn this code base. So they step up in more ways than just looking at that problem to be solved in the limited constraint set. And then when somebody says, hey, why didn't you tell us that if we use this other provider, we would have a cheaper bill? And they'll be like, oh, yeah, but you said solve it using this, so I just solved it. Right. But they have a broader ownership mindset and they want to get things done in like a very nice polished way.
Yeah. And I have another follow up on this one. How about the technical debt part of it? Like, who do you think is better at analyzing the technical debt beforehand? Is that a developer or a engineer?
I would say an engineer would take the cake there.
Yeah. Okay. I have similar thoughts. And then let's talk about some underrated tools or practices that developers should master early in their career.
Oh wow, that's a good one. For people to master, like obviously the coding aspect is something that you should solve. But what you should also look at is something like Git, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
There are a lot of things that you can do on Git. Learn Git really well so that you can collaborate with 4 or 5 other developers and really get the work done correctly. Apart from that, look at different practices, maybe like deploy your app, work on deployments. So if you build something, learn how you can like put it on the internet for other people to use. That will teach you a bunch of things, right? And it'll also start teaching you things which you may have thought you didn't need yet. You put up
Mhm.
an email and password login, somebody might come back and say, hey, why not Google? I need Google. It's so common. You put email password. 2 months later, somebody comes and says, we need a password reset because I forgot the password I signed up from. And like there are these bunch of things that the users force you to learn, which you may not have learned yet.
Yeah.
So do deployments of your projects. Uh, Read a few books. Maybe that doesn't come into practice, but yeah, enrich your knowledge in different ways. Read engineering blogs.
Mhm.
If you like certain companies, go to their engineering blogs. If you like certain engineers who are online on Twitter, like Arpit Dhyani is a wonderful guy. He writes so many things about system design. You
Mhm.
read these kinds of things. Initially, a lot of things will not make sense. And that's
Yeah.
okay because you're new to the field. But with time, you'll start connecting a lot more dots sooner. A new problem shows up. You'll suddenly remember that, hey, I've seen something like this in a YouTube video. Oh, I've seen something like this in that blog. And your mind will expand and you'll be able to solve problems quicker.
Yeah. Actually, you remind me of Netflix blogs. Okay. Netflix, people think that Netflix is a
Yeah.
streaming company, but they have a strong technical expertise and all. And in fact, I was enthralled when I came across the Simian army, especially on the infrastructure part, the kind of simulations that they do in real life to make sure that the disaster recovery happens automatically and many more things. So there is a lot of interesting aspects to learn. Likewise, I think you gave very good suggestion. And let's move to the next one. What mindset shifts should developers embrace beyond just getting a job or promotion? Because today people are focusing on that vertical growth, but
Mhm.
vertical growth gives happiness to a certain extent, right? And then there comes the stagnation part. There is much more beyond that particular vertical growth. So, what's your take on mindset shift?
Hmm. I'm a big proponent for telling people to take risks and being
Mhm.
like high owner. They call it high agency developers, right? So ownership. So don't just like take technical work, but basically take off problems from the plate of your manager, from a product manager. So maybe like take on side quests, side projects that you care about. So maybe like you care about performance and your team is not getting dedicated time to fix it, but you really care about getting that done right? Convince people, get buy-ins from different uh, stakeholders, and maybe make it part of your sprint in a mini way, or maybe make it part of your like side project outside of your main responsibilities. But have this mindset of, oh, this is our product. I'm not just like some low-key developer with other 10 developers building this. I'm like, this belongs to us.
Yeah.
Our
Mm.
users should not suffer. Our users should have the best time on our products, and I'll do whatever is needed to make that happen.
Yeah. So, you reminded me of a book, What Got You Here Won't Get You There. Especially as you grow up in your career ladder, you need to start picking up something from your manager's plate or manager's plate, and really expand your horizons. So, such a great advice. And this has been an incredible conversation so far. And it's time for us to add some more spice and some more excitement to the episode, which means we have come to the second rapid fire round.
Okay.
Okay. Because my first question, so if you could have one gigantic billboard anywhere with anything on it, what would it say?
One gigantic billboard.
Yeah.
I would say motivation is temporary, discipline is forever.
Motivation is temporary, discipline is forever. Superb.
Right.
That
So,
is profound. Yeah. Mm.
so when
Is
you get motivated to do something, you're excited in the initial days, and then it becomes part of your life, and then it gets boring. But you kind of know it's important. But because you've lost that initial momentum, that energy, you give it up. And because it's never built into a habit, because you've not spent enough time on it, it doesn't get you those compounding results.
Mhm.
So a simple example is brushing your teeth, right? Nobody gets motivated to brush their teeth anymore, but we all realize that this habit that we have, it saves us our dentist trip,
Yeah.
at least for a very long time. Uh, when that discipline makes it into a habit, it has very profound effect on your ongoing life compared to just 1 ounce of motivation that came. Motivation is great to start,
Yeah.
but then motivation will not help you finish the race, right? Motivation is fickle.
Lovely.
So
Mm.
focus on discipline.
Lovely. Lovely. Can you describe yourself in just one word?
Just one word. I would say conscientious.
Concept.
Um, yeah,
Mhm.
I take very good care of things that I get involved with, regardless of any outcome.
Mhm.
Be it a friend, be it a coach, be it an employee, like whatever role I assume, I'm very careful of the role that I perform, and I want to get it done right.
Yeah. Awesome. And one tech trend that excites you.
One tech trend.
Yeah.
Um, I think the way AI is progressing right now and all the things that are coming out of it, all the things that you can build because of it, I'm really enjoying that. The possibilities. Yeah.
Hmm. And one thing developers waste time on.
Oh, um, developers waste time on a lot of things. I think I already mentioned one part, which is the tutorials. I think developers waste a lot of time on features they don't need,
Yeah.
right?
Hmm.
Instead of thinking of what the user wants, they start getting into all these little things like, oh, we need to have like the refactoring done a perfect way, or oh, maybe we need to use this particular technology instead of this technology, and they fight on it for like months. It's some things. Just don't
Mm-hmm.
waste too much time on. Take reversible decisions and move on.
Okay, great. And then a programming myth you hate.
A programming myth.
Yeah.
Mm, I mean, the simplest one I would say is that it's hard, right?
Mm,
People say,
yeah.
oh, I was given a big code base. That is why I couldn't do anything. Once you know your debugging, once you know how to navigate code, it doesn't matter how big or small a code base is. You figure out what you need to make change. You trace it down to its limited 5, 6, 10 files, and that's where you work. You don't need to change the whole code base. So
Yeah.
being afraid of code bases.
Okay. And one book every developer should read.
I have a few books, but I think A Pragmatic Programmer is something I would recommend everyone to read, especially in their early careers.
Okay. A failure you are grateful for, kind of a favorite failure or something of that sort.
That I'm grateful. I'm definitely grateful for my first startup, which I spent multiple years. It may not be a full failure yet, but definitely it taught me a lot of lessons. And at the very least, it made me confident, and it helped me gain a lot of knowledge on my own, which I may not have otherwise looked out for.
Mhm. And one message to every struggling developer.
To every struggling developer, I think I would want to say you're not alone, right? It's definitely hard. The market has gotten worse, but you're not alone. There are more people like you. Find them, form a small group, help each other out, find the mentors, find the Discord groups, stand out, be active on creating your brand, work together, right? You'll come out of it and come out of it as a group, right? Don't work alone if you like you're not alone.
Okay, great. And here comes the last one for the second rapid fire. What is one electronic gadget or a fantasy gadget that you like to see or invent yourself?
I would want Doraemon's pocket because you can get whatever you want out of it. But I think that's a little too complex to build myself. Um, a practical gadget I would want is a very simple machine in which if you just go and stand a medical machine, it can just scan you in like 10 seconds, find out everything that is happening in your body that is going wrong, and then use like a series of lasers and very non-intrusive technology to just zap and fix it, right? So it detects that there is some stage 1 cancer um, happening in your body, is able to zap it and just finish it right then and there. And you just like within a minute, you walk out of that machine and you're more healthier and living happier.
I think that will be a huge hit in the market, right? So, no, that's a great thought. I loved your thought process. And in fact, I'm a big fan of Doraemon. Good one. After that amazing second rapid fire, let's be back to the mainstream. So, Ankush, what is one piece of advice to those aspiring to begin their careers?
We advise you to take risks and take ownership, right? Don't be worried um, on attaching your name to things. The work is going to get your brand stamp, right? Like this is a problem being solved by ABC, right? Whatever your name is. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have high ownership, like treat that problem as your own. Don't wait for somebody else to fix it, right? Move it along, get it deployed. Don't hope that somebody else will take care of it. And when you do this over and over and over, the more problems you solve, you'll also fail once in a while, right? But if you solve this problem, the person will see that, oh, this person solved 90 out of 100 problems compared to somebody who solved 2 out of 3 problems or 3 out of 3 problems,
Right.
right?
Mm-hmm.
People will remember things that you've done. Um, and whatever problems you couldn't solve, learn from them and do it better next time. But don't be afraid, take risks and do more. Don't just stay limited and stay in a box.
Yeah. Excellent. And I really enjoyed the conversation. It's full of insights and really going to help. It is going to really help the developer community and all the aspiring developers out there. And really, thank you so much for joining me today. And before I let you go, how is your experience being hosted on the Guiding Voice platform?
I thank you so much for this invitation. I like being here, and I'm hopeful that this will help a few aspiring developers out there. So thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So pleasure to host you, and thank you once again. Looking forward to hosting you again in future. And I wish you all the best and wish the Real Dev Squad community all the best in all your endeavors.
Thank
All
you.
right. Yep. So, friends, that was our episode with Ankush Dharkar. And before we jump into the fun trivia section, we have a quick request in case if you haven't subscribed to our podcast, please subscribe from wherever you have tuned in. And also, if you have enjoyed the conversation and found it useful, request you to share with at least 3 of your friends or colleagues who would also like TGV. So, spread the knowledge and also help others grow just like you. Now, it's time for us to cruise into the trivia segment. Having had amazing conversation about developers, engineers, I thought I would present you a few interesting but lesser known facts about software developers today. The first one is the rubber duck debugging trick. This trick actually works, which is about explaining your code aloud even to a rubber duck on your desk. It is a real debugging method, and the act of verbalizing often reveals the bug. And second fact is that developers spend more time reading code than writing it. Studies show that developers spend around 50 to 60% of their time reading code, whether it is their own code or others' code. And writing code is often the easy part. Understanding it is the real challenge. And third is most developers are self taught. Despite computer science degrees being common, over 69% of the developers say they learn at least one major language or skill outside of formal education, and this is according to Stack Overflow's surveys. So, this is all I wanted to talk when it comes to trivia. Likewise, if you have any interesting facts related to software developers, do let me know. If you're watching this episode on YouTube, you can comment there, or if you found this episode on social media platform, you can comment there as well. So, folks, that's it for today. Thank you so much for tuning in and also for being part of our awesome TGV family. And until next time, take care, stay inspired, and remember the future holds great things. The best is yet to come. Goodbye for now. See you all in the next episode with another amazing guest. Take care. Love you all. Bye bye.
Bye.